It's evident from what we just watched that politics play a heavy part in our education. And for some, there's an interest that see a profit-making source. That makes me wonder, like, why I always keep hearing, like, it's just not enough funding to go around. So I'm gonna ask you guys, why are schools really being underfunded?
It's an attack on poor people because when you think about it, I feel as though what people are expecting of me as a student is I'll either have two choices. I should drop out or I should go to jail because that's the only way I'm going to be worth anything to them, because if I drop out, okay, then I'll work for you for a lot cheaper, and if I go to jail, then I'm basically a slave and you don't have to pay for me to, you know, do the labor and make product.
I think that was really well said, Azim, and also I think that the trend in education is similar to the trends across all the sectors over the last 30 years, which is to try to reframe just our whole society around the idea that we just don't really have any basic human rights, right? We don't have the right to education, we don't have the right to work at a living wage, we don't have the right to health care, we don't have the right to anything. So I think that the attacks on public education are similar and go hand in hand with the attacks on the idea that we have basic human rights.
Right. And I think one of the reasons why they blame, why they give themselves a reason to attack us is part of that stereotype. Well, you belong in prison because you're violent, not you're violent because you're in a violent situation. So that's why we do the work that we do with the Campaign for Nonviolent Schools, is to end that stereotype.
There's a tremendous amount of potential and hope in this idea of parents, students, workers, and educators really getting together, because we do form the basis of a pretty broad social movement if we become conscious of that power. But I think that the increasing stratification and the disparity between wealth and poverty in the country is being played out in many ways inside our education system. You know, we often look to our local leaders or even our local politicians around what's happening in our schools, and I think that in terms of the overall program for public education, we need to be looking at the Walton Family Foundation, we need to be looking at the Broad Superintendent's Academy. It's something that people should look at. Where's the money really flowing that's behind the overall program, which I think the program is for many who are funding it and who are behind it, is taking us back to a time when you could potentially only access education if you have the money to pay for it. So I actually, you know, there are folks out there that want to roll back the whole idea of universal public education that's free.
Okay. I can't emphasize enough how much I really admire the work that you guys are doing, just not just in Philly, but nationwide, and not just in the education sector, but for this broader social movement that needs to come around.